year, today we are discussing again another important topical issue of our time. We will be examining the mental health implications of imposing a career on our child. The good, the bad, and the ugly. An interesting topic as that. Before I go on, as usual, let me remind ourselves of the housekeeping rules, and most importantly, keeping our microphones off when we join. Anybody here by this time know that housekeeping rule? Again, we are going to discuss mental health issue. So let's be sensitive in our comments, in our remarks, and in our questions. It's a confidential matter as well. So let's try to keep to that. And finally, when it's question time, as usual, when you have a question or comments to make, raise your hand by indicating on the screen, touching that icon. I'll see and I'll call you out to make your comments. For those who do not know, MHA now has a call center that people can call in seeking for help. And the number is 0800 678 678. The helpline again, 0800 678 678. Good, thank you. So back to the topic. Aspire to have some sort of career in our lives. It's fulfilling to have a career. It's good. How we pick these careers are influenced by our friends, our family, our parents, and our parents, of course, who have a very important role. The outcome of this career also is related to our fulfillment in life. But in some cases, we have imposition of careers on children by their parents. And this, our researchers have told us that it has mental health implications. And that is what we want to discuss this afternoon. That looking at these mental health implications, again, by the end of discussion, parents would know the role that they can play when it comes to helping their children, or worse, to choose a career. Is it right to impose? And again, to know that there are detrimental outcomes with regards to imposition career on children. There is the good, the bad, and the ugly, but we don't want the ugly and we don't want the bad, we want the good. But we will discuss all that. And ladies and gentlemen, I have some good people, strong facilitators, I must tell you, excellent in practice and in academia with what they do to help us discuss in that the topic at hand. So let me introduce them. And we'll go on. First, a licensed educational psychologist in Winnipeg. His research focuses on informing policy and practice in teaching and learning using creativity and motivational approaches for diverse learners. That is one of our facilitators, Dr. Inusa Mahama. Dr. Inusa, if you are with us, let's hear your voice.
All right, Dr. Atta, I'm available.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Next, we have Dr. Johnny Ando Arthur. He's a social and a community psychologist, lecturer of social and community psychology at the Department of Psychology, University of Ghana, researches mainly on mental and sexual health of men and young persons, also has research interests in health promotion, social cognition, culture and behavior, and community well-being. He is a licensed community psychologist with the Ghana Suicide and Violence Research, a member association for cross-cultural psychology, International Association of Suicide Prevention, again, a member of Critical Suicidology Network and Ghana Psychological Association. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Dr. Johnny Ando Arthur. Dr. Arthur, let's hear your voice.
Hello, Doc. Yeah, good afternoon.
Good.
Thank you. Yes.
Good to have you here. And finally, we have Dr. Carol Matthias Oshes. She is an educational psychologist, passionate about helping children, teenagers, young adults, and adults break unhealthy lifestyle cycles, help them unlearn negative thought patterns, and thrive in areas of personal growth, academic and professional life, family life, relationships, and friendship. Currently, she runs and practices at her own consultancy and at the Accra College of Medicine. Prior to December 2021, she was the head of counseling at the SOS Herman German International College. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Carol Oshes. Dr. Carol, let's hear you. Hello, Dr. Carol. Unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Dr. Arthur. Thank you for having me.
Good. Now I have my facilitators with me, so we are good to go. Now, let me start with you, Dr. Ando. This time, you see our children, career day, and we wear them all kinds of uniforms. You see them in nurses, police uniform, military. It's fun and exciting to watch them. A career day has been imposed, and we see that all that around us. Now, what is career? What is a career to these children? What does it mean to them? How does it impact on their lives?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dr. Arthur. Good afternoon, my colleague, facilitators, and distinguished guests. This afternoon is a special day because we are coming to discuss a critical issue. Yeah, so Doc, on your question, interestingly, my wife and I have always been having an argument. Anytime my children are supposed to, done something, for career day, what I keep telling my wife is, there are certain careers that you cannot have a uniform for. And so when a school
yes.
So when a school always tries to encourage this, then it means that certain careers, will never be reinforced in the minds of the children. And so we try to bias them, towards certain careers that children can identify with particular uniforms. But let me say that career for me is something that children, we are told by research that at the age of 4, they begin to have a concept of what career is. But on a more simplistic note, career to children means what children actually spend most of their times on. So a child can have a career of always breaking and fixing things in a house. A child can have a career
the troublesome ones.
A child may have a career of always tearing and sewing things. A child may have a career of always watering the gardens. So for them, at that point in time, what they find passion doing without any prompting is a career. But at that point in time, again, like I said, it's so simplistic. But as they grow, then they try to relate, things that their parents also try to spend most of their time on, to career conceptions. Yeah, so a case in point, for instance, can be a child, who, have been watering gardens. And, at that point in time, the child is watering the garden without any pecuniary interest, without any anticipation of money. But a time comes as you grow, so realize that actually some people are making, a career in gardening, where they are actually getting something by way of motivation. In that case, then they will then move from career as in what they are excited, in doing, to career as in what they may be excited in doing, but at the end can also come with some, motivation. So, but let me say that at that point, some of the children also have magical thinking. They just want to be everything and anything, okay, based on what they see around them. So I want to be a pilot, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be whatever. At that point in time, they may have watched certain movies, they may have seen certain, people in certain careers, and therefore they want to be like that. But if you ask them really, okay, how do you get there? They cannot tell you anything. So their mind is basically magical at that point in time, and it is so rudimentary. So I think that when we're looking at it from a developmental perspective, then we can say that for early, children in early elementary school, okay, theirs is more about, associating themselves with something very magical, something very powerful, something very, very, big in society. But as they grow, you realize that they will have particular reasons, motivations, okay, for wanting to, channel the rest of their lives to certain particular careers. So this is something that I will say by way of introduction to this topic. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I mean, my young daughter have changed her career, I think, about 15 times. Every other week, she has a different career. And I said, okay, no problem. Daddy has no problem with what you have chosen. I know next week you give. So that's a good perspective from that angle. Interesting, Dr. Anusa. So, at what point do they embrace seriously the idea of the career in their lives? At what point do children embrace the
Thank you very much, Doc, for giving me the opportunity to speak to my colleagues this afternoon. I think the issue of career day in the lives of kids is not anything bad. It is good, but as to whether they choose the careers for themselves or someone does it for them. One thing when it comes to is good is, at that stage, they are exploring several avenues in order to fine-tune what they think in future they can hold up onto. And remember, at this stage, too, their minds are very malleable and they can adapt to so many things at the same time. So as they explore their environment and try to put themselves in different set of careers, they are able to know where they think in future they can build on. Let me draw this point on the basis of Sigmund Freud's theory, that whatever early experience that you had might have an influence in your later life. So at this stage, if they explore and think a particular career that they choose and exhibited in the school day, they can try to hone it as they grow with the opportunities provided. They can be able to come out good at that particular angle. But remember, as they explore, some can go into several ways. And because their minds are malleable and they can be convinced by a parent immediately, parent can say, oh, why not this? You look good in that and that and that. And remember, kids too, they want things that are good in them. They will go in there. It is good for them to, but then we should allow themselves to choose. Then we guide how they're supposed to do it. I think that is my view on this angle. It is fun. It comes with fun. If you deny your child that opportunity, the child may go to school and have a different thought about the parent he or she is having. You may not have the resources to procure such materials for them, but you do your best with what you have. And because of the lack of, resources to buy some of these nice dresses, let's say the nursing, military, police, or engineer dressing, excuse me, from people from low socioeconomic background, they may end up saying we should go this way. The imposition will start from that angle. Because they don't have the resources to do, they may think, let's go this way. And because the child also want to have fun, they also accept it and go with it. But at this stage, it's all exploration. And none of them can see they hold up to something that they think one day they can do it. That is my view on this. Thank you.
I couldn't agree with you more, because when you observe the frequent changes in careers of them, it's funny and exciting for us as adults, but Carol, let me come to you. As parents, how then can we identify the career paths that our children are most likely to follow that will be helpful for them? We have our personal aspirations. We are looking at how easy they can get a job. We are looking at the prestige. We are looking at the, because we've heard about some families, and so we are in that family right from school, from day nursery. You are going to be a lawyer, whether you like it or not. These are family heritage and that sort of thing. But as parents, how can we identify the career path for our children?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think that that's a great question. And I think Dr. Inusa and Dr. Arthur have, drawn our attention to, some things that are important for us to keep in mind. And I think the very first step, like you have said, is as a parent, you need to be honest with yourself in terms of the factors that are influencing the kind of maybe career you would like your child to have. Like you said, the very real issues of which careers seem more prestigious than others, right? Which careers, and a lot of parents also coming from a very good place in terms of thinking about job security and careers that will be able to, set their children on paths where they can take care of themselves and be okay, right? So a lot of parents generally are coming from that angle of, I want what is best for you, right? And then it can very quickly become an imposition because maybe what I think might be best for you may not align with what the child wants. But I think we've mentioned several times here this idea of exploration. I think in order for you to be able to get a good sense of what might be a good career path for your child, you have to know your child, right? You have to spend time with your child. You have to be able to start to get a good sense of what your child's interests are. This whole idea of aptitude, like what they may have aptitude for in terms of what they might be good at, what their strengths are, what their challenge areas are, the things you recognize come, very easily to them, the things they struggle with, the things they find fulfilling and get a good sense of satisfaction from. All of that is very, very founded on whether or not you have a relationship with your child. If you're not spending any time with your child, you don't know what their interests are, you don't know how well they are doing in school, it might be very difficult for you to genuinely be able to know the career path that might be best for them. So I think that's a good starting point. Just building that relationship that allows you to know your child, right? Because as much as they will be exploring, you will also be exploring with them, right? And if there's no relationship, then where's the exploration happening? So I think that has to be that very first point. Getting to know your child, spending time with them, knowing their aptitude, their interest in various things, because those are the things that will start to shape where you then begin to guide them in terms of, oh, Amma, you're really good at this. Doing this thing seems to come really easy to you. You might, because children, you also have to understand that children do not necessarily make a connection between the things they are interested in and the things they are good at and a career path, right? They may know that, oh, I enjoy reading, or maybe I enjoy writing, or I enjoy talking to people. I really enjoy maybe taking apart old radios and putting it together, but they may not have the concept of engineering or law, so they may not necessarily make that connection from the things that they are interested in and they are good at to certain career areas. And I think that's where parents can help to make that link. But the first starting point is you have to know your child. You have to spend time building that relationship so you have that knowledge that you then use to guide them.
Thank you. That's quite strong there. You have to know your child, build a relationship with them. That is the first thing. So if you do not know your child, if you don't have a relationship with them, you should not even be thinking about going near their career. Because you will not be helpful to them. Okay, so that is word for the parents. Know you're giving them money to go to Papa here and think that you know them. You need to spend time with them, know their interests, know their attitudes, and what fulfills them. Wow. Okay, that's good. So that you have answered a bit of it, but Dr. Ando, if I were to ask, so what role, specific role, can parents play in the career aspiration of their children?
Thank you so much, Doc.
How would you respond to that?
Sure. Thank you so much, Doc. But I think I will also continue from where Dr. Carol left. Yeah, so again,
definitely, most definitely.
Yes, we have to reiterate the fact that as parents, we need to know our children. And by knowing your children, you are know your children holistically. Okay, his academics, his emotional, his social. So, I mean, you are more closer to the child than anyone, you know, can be. So, of course, you have a responsibility as a parent, you know. But I think I would want to answer this question from two main perspectives. Okay, so we can actually examine this from the objective approach, okay, of career developmental processes in children, where here we assume that every child is unique with its own unique potentials, unique abilities, unique skills, and every career also requires a certain unique skill, unique abilities, and therefore what we need to do as parents is to try to match, okay, children's unique potentials to specific careers. So you knowing your child as a parent, then of course you'll be able to then know where your child is more aligning, you know, towards. And so when you go with this approach, for instance, John Holloway, one of the foremost career counselors, for instance, has come up with, you know, 6 categories. According to him, both the child and careers have 6 main categories, which can help us really know where a child can fit. For instance, he calls what he calls realistic, you know, careers. These are careers that are more skill-oriented, okay, that are more skill-oriented. So the child is really skilled in something, and so he will fit a particular career that is skill-based. We also have investigative careers that are more into investigating, like a researcher, like a policeman, like a detective. Okay, then we also have artistic careers, for instance. Okay, careers that also, you know, fit into children who are more artistic. They are into literary issues, they are into drama, they are into fine art, they are into a lot more of what, you know, arts. Okay, then we also have social, like education, like religion. We also have enterprise, those who can be in business. Okay, and then of course we also have the conventional careers. These are careers that are more about supporting, you know, services like clerks, secretaries, and all that. So knowing your child, as Dr. Carol said, will certainly help you as a parent to know which environment you can create and which guidance you can give your child to, okay, particular careers. But we can also look at this from a constructivist approach, where we must start from the assumption that children themselves are active, okay, you know, participant in their own environment. They are actively constructing meaning in the environment. And therefore, you cannot impose. He knows what will make sense to his reality. Okay, and therefore allow the child, okay, to construct his own world in a way that might probably defy what a parent may expect him to do. So I think in this case, we may have a challenge. One, with a constructive approach, you may have a challenge, for instance, where a child may find himself in an area or a context where, for instance, we have gender prejudices. Okay, certain careers are not for women. So this child will never see in his context a female who is an engineer. So there is no way the child will grow up in that particular context, okay, developing with the notion of a female as an engineer. You get it? So I think that we need to approach this, you know, tactfully as parents, first by objective approach, knowing who your child is, his talent, his potentials, and particular professions or careers that he can fit. And then 2, with a constructivist approach, also respecting the child, making him an active participant in his environment and allowing him to create his own world, okay, that will give him fulfillment. In that case, our responsibility as parents is that we need to then enrich that environment so that the child can get a wider repertoire, okay, of careers he can, you know, draw from.
Good. So that if you knew a child well, you knew the skills and aptitude that this child had, the issue of imposition does not really come in because we really understand that child. really understand from both theories. You understand that child. You respect that child. Know that this child is skilled. This child is artistic. You know, emotionally, that is what he or she can deal with. But if you do not know your child and you think that you are just the provider, school fees, you go and pay, you send money, that sort of thing. You've provided all the gadgets, so everybody is in his or her room, everybody is playing with the gadgets. You might not know at the end of the day, you are tempted to impose. So that I would want to ask, Carol, what are some of the motivating factors that parents look at to wanting to impose careers on their children?
I'm glad you asked, because as you were speaking, I was thinking, yes, you know, you may very well know your child, and thank you, Dr. Arthur, for that. Just drawing our mind to the fact that the child has to play an active role in constructing, you know, their world. But you may know your child. You may be in a position where, because of the knowledge you have of your child, you are able to, you know, have a good sense of what career paths might be best aligned for them. But the reality is, you may also have prejudices against certain career fields, right? And traditionally, we do know that parents struggle with career fields that do not fit into more traditional areas, right? So when we start talking about the arts and the more creative career fields, you know, moving away from the more traditional engineering, you know, medical, law, all of that, then a lot of parents then come face to face with, sometimes they don't even realize they have some really strong internalized, you know, prejudices, and when it comes to certain career fields. So maybe they can clearly see, my child is a good match for this. They are so creative, they're so artistic, you know, it's a perfect alignment, but I struggle to see how they can create a prestigious career in that area. So I think one of the factors that parents have to be honest about is looking at what their own personal prejudices might be when it comes to certain career areas, because I think those are often reasons why we see that parents sort of try and guide their children away from those areas and impose other more sort of acceptable or other more prestigious careers. So I think that is definitely a factor. The parents' perception of what that career is, or what that professional space is. I also think that parents often struggle to see children as independent beings, right? A lot of parents see children as extensions and continuations of themselves, right? So if I was a great lawyer, or I come from a line of great lawyers, your grandfather was a great lawyer, your great-grandfather was a great lawyer, you know, parents really struggle to see how then that doesn't become the natural path that you follow. And so because I'm seeing this child as an extension of myself, then they must continue on with, hello? They must continue on with the career path that, you know, I for example, set off for myself. So that your parents also can influence really strongly how much parents impose. I think going back to my earlier point also about, I think most parents also genuinely are just concerned about, where can my child really build a good, solid, secure career? And so sometimes in certain areas, career areas that seem not as, you know, strong, because maybe they are more recent, and when you compare them to the more traditional areas, they don't seem as solid. A lot of parents have real genuine concerns about, I don't know how much of a career you'll be able to build in this field, you know, in terms of being able to take care of yourself and establish yourself. So I think these are some of the things that parents take into consideration, either consciously or unconsciously. I think that influence how they guide their children. And what I'm also finding, Doctor, just to add, is I think a lot of parents also aren't doing research in terms of exploring and gaining knowledge around, especially some of these newer career areas, or maybe the more non-traditional career paths that they are not necessarily used to. They are not exploring, so they don't have the knowledge base that is strong enough and broad enough to guide their children. So that's what I'll say for now.
Okay, so
let me
family
add a little
heritage.
bit.
Yes,
Let me add a
yes,
little bit to what my
yes,
sister
Dr.
just said.
Anissa, go ahead. I'll definitely have asked you to.
Okay, I think the issue of parental role in carving a route for career for their children is something that is not debatable. They have a huge role after God, because they are the immediate caregivers of their kids.
Yeah.
But then every parent who so wish good for your child should occupy a second position in the life of the child and try to do something like scaffolding. Try to let the person build on his or her self-concept, who the person, career choice is about self-concept, who you are, what you wish to be, and how valuable you take yourself to be. So parental role could be in this angle and not necessarily choosing what the child should do. If a child is able to identify that, yeah, this is where I want to get to in future, you, the parent, have to ask, how can I support that angle? Because the child knew himself based on the self-image that I'm currently this way, but I wish to be here. So your role as a parent is to guide the process. And in guiding the process, you try to give the child the skills that they don't learn in class, especially the soft skills. When we talk about networking in job, work ethic, work style, after your child has idealized himself that, yeah, I want to be in this angle, how does that child show ethic in that particular job, show style in that particular job, communicate in that particular job? If you are not seeing such things, you, the parent, now has to support in advising and not to choose, because it is an interest area the person might have picked and is trying to invest his energies into that. After paying school fees, it doesn't end there. We continue with the child to know who he is, what he possesses, and out of that, he or she can use that to carve a route that he himself wants for the future. Remember, every parent cares for the best of the child, and they wouldn't want to sit back whilst at old age thinking that what will my child do because there's no job, or this job that the child is doing might not be fetching. Yes, it is true. But then, does that particular job that you are trying to bring on board for your child to pick suit his interest? It's about interest. And once you have an interest in something, the passion increases, and you shall work based on that. And again, as parents as we are, our influence is so much to the extent that sometimes our children see us to be mini gods, their last resort. Yes, indeed, we are their last resort. But then what do? We need to make sure we let them learn what they possess within them. Try to help them unearth their innate potentials. When we allow them to discover their potentials, that is a route towards whatever career that they've chosen. If they are unable to know what they possess and what they aspire for, there's no way. That is where sometimes they may get even a nag along the line or a slack along the line, and parents will come in to try to dictate that do this and not that, or try to leave a family legacy. A family legacy is there, but then the interest of the child is very key. And the parents should pay fee and guide the child to identify who he is, what he wants to be, and what he values for himself in life. I think that is the best way for us. Thank you.
Dr. Anissa have nailed it. I've nailed it. But I want us to do a little backtracking here. You know, yes. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Hold your fire. Hold your fire. Hold your fire, name. Hold your fire. There are varied reasons why parents would want to impose careers on their children. And I want us to discuss those factors to the extent that they are not really helpful. And Carol have mentioned quite a few of them. There are prejudices, the job security which had influenced them, the lack of exploration, and the family heritage. These are factors that some parents have looked at, and by that reason they've imposed. Dr. Anda, what I want you to do for me is to, if there are other factors, you add them to it and explain briefly why these factors should not influence them to impose.
All right, thank you so much,
Dr. Before you come to what you had intended to tell me.
I think it is connected, and I think Dr. Inisa and Dr. Carol actually said a piece so well. I mean, yeah. I think we need to take our time to unpack some two key, I would say postulations they have made today. From Dr. Carol,
unpack yes, them for us.
From Dr. Carol, children as extensions of parents. Okay, and then from Dr. Mama, parents being demigods or gods. These are very important. These are very, 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 important concepts. I think we need to unpack if you want to make progress, on this topic. Now, as a community psychologist, a social psychologist, I'm interested in the context. Okay, now, the question is that in Ghana, let's come home. In Ghana, the question that comes up is how close or how distant can a parent be from a child's career, choices? It is difficult to determine. Why? Because we have a certain conception of a child, as we have heard, as our extensions of our parents, a child as somebody who has to look up to me because I'm the God, that hierarchical structure. Then we also have a certain conception of what? Childcare. And for most traditional societies, we raise child partly also for pecuniary reasons. Okay? Children then become social insurances. Tomorrow we will grow old. And when we grow old, we expect our children to be there for us. No parent wants to raise a child who, in his old age, okay, may be suffering socioeconomically. And so on this score, parents will then have a responsibility to ensure their children enter into professions that can secure the future, such that when they cannot go and come in the old age, they can have their children to follow. Of course, this is encapsulated in the saying that one na ashama wasn't than if you fra. So exactly. So look, unfortunately, this is not a straightforward answer. Exactly, given the context we find ourselves. But of course, what we can encourage parents to do is this. Yes, we know these are the realities. We cannot run away from it. Let me share an anecdote. Just 2 weeks ago, I met a college friend of mine, and after several years after school, we have not met before. And so we met just 2 weeks ago, and we were just updating each other. Oh, Charlie Johnny, how many children do you have? I mentioned, I also asked, he also mentioned, he told me, where are my children? At what level are they? And I also asked this. He said that his children are in the tertiary level. And for him, you can't be in his house and just choose any course you like. You have to go and do the economics, go and do business administration, or do actuarial science. Hey, I can't feed you, and you come and tell me that, say, I want to go and do this dondology. No, I was shocked because this is somebody who is in academia. The reality is that we are in an era where it is not easy to even finish school and get a job. Okay, so why would we want to invest money, okay, in children, and at the end of the children be struggling? So these are the difficulties, these are the complexities, of the situation. But then, of course, parents still can be talked to. Parents still can be encouraged so that they can widen their frame of understanding as far as career choices are concerned. As Dr. Carol said, we need more education for them to know that. You see, you may think that the traditional careers may be very, very innovative.
I give you the reference number to check.
But the reality
Jonathan, can you please switch off your microphone, please? Jonathan, please switch off your microphone.
Look, the reality is that there are newer forms of career, as Dr. Carol said, that are coming up. And children are finding satisfaction, fulfillment, and even making money. Just 2 weeks ago, I was at a school in Walter Region for an outreach. And I asked the question, what do you want to do in future? I had one SSL3 student who said, I want to be a tailor. And all the colleagues, all the friends were laughing at him. So you see, you can see clearly that this is a child who has identified something, but it kind of doesn't for the career frame.
Jonathan, can you please switch off mute yourself?
Something that we need a lot more education like this, for parents. Okay, so we can widen their perspectives. it is not just about the outcome, the pecuniary interest, it's also about the interest, the fulfillment, the satisfaction of the child. And so there must be a middle ground. There must be a middle ground, and we need to re-emphasize that, you know, with parents.
I like where you landed, that there must be a middle ground. That is what it is. And who creates that middle ground? We'll come back to it when we get to that last bit of what role that parents need to play. Dr. Inusa have warmed us up with that, but we'll come back to it in 4. Now, the imposition itself, that is what we decided to discuss today. The imposition has mental health implications. It has mental health implications. Jonathan, can you please mute yourself?
No, it was both in October, yeah, October. No,
Jonathan,
September.
can you please mute yourself?
Check September. Check September.
Jonathan, can you please mute yourself?
No, check before that.
Jonathan, kindly mute yourself.
Check.
You are making our interaction a bit.
Please, if he can't mute it, why don't you mute it for him? Maybe he's probably not aware. If he can't mute it for him.
We are having technical challenges here. That is why I can't do that today.
Send him a message, please.
Then try to exit him so that we can join later, because it's making the discussion a bit disturbing.
All right.
I got some.
Just a second. Let me see what I can do with that.
22nd September. Okay, there's 22nd September here. Which is going to mature 28th December.
Dr. Atta, if you also know him personally, you could probably call him or something. If you know him personally, with his number.
I made it 1 month, 1 month too.
I think now
you look like there's an admin. There's an admin.
Is the one you was 30th September.
Sorry about that. I tried reaching somebody, but I don't know. I don't think it's him. Alberta, there'll be question time. Can you please hold on? There'll be question time. So yes, like I was saying, let's talk about the imposition itself and its impact on the mental health of our children. If we impose, has it got mental health implications? Let me start with you, Carol.
Thank you. That's a great question. I mean, obviously we know that it does, right? Because if we think that if we think about it from the angle of, you know, and Dr. Adon Atta talked about this, where, you know, children and having a sense of agency in terms of understanding that, you know, in and of themselves, they are whole independent beings, and, you know, they play a role in constructing their world and what happens to them. And, you know, when we talk about career, you know, the guidance starts from when you are in JHS, maybe, you know, even younger than that, SHS, into tertiary education. We see a lot of students being stressed, being frustrated, because they are studying areas and kind of preparing themselves for careers that they do not have any interest in, that they feel as though were imposed by their parents, sometimes that do not align with their general interests and aptitudes. And so they really, really struggle. In a lot of my work that I have done with young people in school, you see that misalignment a lot, where I'm struggling with this pre-med course because I'm not interested. I don't feel as though I am strong in it, but this is what mom and dad want me to do. And so that gives an added layer of complexity, because the course is already difficult and they are struggling with it. And then there's a lot of resentment around, but this isn't even what I wanted to do, right? And I'm being made to do something and I'm struggling with it. And yet there's an expectation from parents that I should be doing better and getting better grades. And, you know, we know the role that interest and taking ownership of your learning and feeling connected to your learning, we know the role that plays in motivation and keeping a student motivated. So a lot of students struggle with motivation, feeling demotivated when they've been set on a career path that was imposed on them, that they didn't have, you know, a hand in sort of helping decide. And when there's a lack of motivation, there's a lot of stress, a lot of frustration. And in terms of mental health implications, we can very easily see the connection between that and, you know, serious mental health conditions such as depression. You know, there's been a lot of research that has shown a very strong correlation in college students, university students, between levels of satisfaction or dissatisfaction with, you know, whatever courses they are taking, leading to whatever career paths, and depression and you know, occurrences of depression, with founded on this idea that, you know, lower levels of dissatisfaction, you know, lead to higher, you see higher cases of reported clinical depression. So I think stress, frustration, a lack of motivation in terms of pursuing said career paths and whatever courses they need to take, and how that can easily lead to very specific mental health challenges. We also see a lot of resentment towards parents, and which then leads to a breakdown in relationship with their parents. So yes, you wanted me to do medicine. Okay, I'm doing the medicine because it's what you wanted, but I'm just doing it because you said I should do it. You are the one funding my education. There's nothing much I can do about it. So I'll do it because I don't have a choice, but then our relationship suffers. And then over time, you see that breakdown in relationship. And, you know, parental relationships, one of the fundamental sources of support, right, for an individual. So you see students going into tertiary education, there being a breakdown of relationship with their parents, they're not having that support, and that just means that they are at a higher risk for conditions like depression. So I think it's very easy to see what the mental health implications are or can be.
Thank you.
All right.
Dr. Inusa, for you as an educational psychologist, what would you like to add to what Carol have just said?
All right. The issues are more or less complicated, especially when parents choose. Yes, because it brings about a crossroad between the parent and the child. And wherever, these are the signs, wherever a child says, I'm just doing this course for my parents, it's a sign of a mental health issue. It means that particular child might not make the mind purposely for that program he or she enrolled to pursue. And when it happens as such, the person becomes highly demotivated, disinterested in whatever that he does. He might be smiling with you as a parent, but within him or her, he or she is hurt. He or she is hurt. And they are hurt because they are highly depressed, they are highly stressed. Some even become anguish towards other people. They become annoyed for the least provocation without anything that can be evidence-based to show as a proof that indeed this is what caused you to act in this particular way. So whenever we see our young ones acting in this way because of a job issue, we should be able to know that indeed this person has been forced to do something that he or she never thought or never planned doing. not long ago, was it a week or two, I interacted with an MPhil student. And I said, after MPhil, what are you going to do? No, Dr. Inus, I didn't plan coming for this program. I'm doing it for my father. And I said, wow, why are you doing the program for your father? Me, I wanted to be my ordinary teacher, and I have my passion in that particular job and not at a higher level. I said, oh, okay. So how are you feeling? I'm feeling nothing. I'm just doing it for doing sake. Because sometimes parents say, if you don't, I will not pay your school fees again, or I'll disown you. The moment you utter such as a word or statement, I'll disown you, they are forced to do what you want. But within them, they are ahead. Within them, they are ahead. So we need to guide against such utterances. Allow and guide. When you allow them to choose and guide, such mental health issues will be reduced. Mental health issue is not about they showing signs for you to observe. They are unobservable ones there. They're sitting quietly, they're not acting, but growing lean, they lack the interest in a particular food that they used to so love, or because someone has said they should do something, and they will indeed do it for you. In my family, 4 years ago, I was pursuing my PhD. One of my sons had just completed senior high school, and he and the mother were arguing as to the course he should pursue in the university, headed science. And the mother's plan was, she was a teacher, your uncle being myself is a lecturer. We want you to go into medicine so that your younger sister will come into nursing. The guy said no. He said, no, I want to go into petroleum engineering. So it brought a rift between himself and the mother. Luckily enough, some of us were in there to go and then cap a balance between the two. Okay, we look, when it happens as such, what we can do to make the person have a relief of situations that are bad to him is to carve a balance. And how do we carve it? Present opportunities to the child, aside whatever that he has had, so that he will select yours as well, then you guide. When I did my opportunity cost, I did a scale of preference rather, choose. He chose his course that he wished. The mother also added his course. I also added electrical engineering. Do all the three. If the admission can, whichever one that you think, pursue. And I gave the opportunity, go and study around the areas and see the possibilities in terms of what you stand achieving at the end of the day. But some parents may not get the time to engage the young person to go and explore and come and tell you what they think they can do in the area. Quickly, they say, once I've said this, go by that. And the go by that is the issue that brings about mental health issues. So the child may be depressed, anxious, stressed, and less confident, even reduce the person's self-esteem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Inusa. Well, at this point, clearly, if parents impose careers on their children, then there are mental health issues. I want us to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly outcomes of this situation. Dr. Arthur, are you there?
Doc, please, I'm here.
Good. I want us to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly outcomes of this. We'll take turns going through each of them. So let's start with the good outcomes of this. My cousin, Mina, I think she's on. She was telling me that day that when I started posting the flyers, that she is happy that her mom imposed career on her, because at the time at SS, she had wanted to do one of these courses that will take her to the kitchen and all that. And the mother said, you like sleeping too much. How can you work in the kitchen? You cannot work in the kitchen. So you better go to the business. It was a struggle between the two of them, but finally they agreed and she went to the business side. Now she is happy and she is grateful that her mother encouraged her to go to the business side. So I can say that is a good subtle way of imposition, a good outcome of it. Let's start with the good ones. I have shared mine. So let's start with the good ones, and with the bad ones, the bad outcomes, then the ugly ones. Then we can see, we can deduce what.
All right. Oh. Thank you again. So I think I will share this experience. You know, I'm taking care of this niece of mine. Yeah, she emerged as the overall BEC best candidate from Central Region and gained admission to Western Girls, and of course, this science. That has been a trajectory. If we are good, you are too excellent, you have to go to a particular school and you have to do certain courses. Okay, so he was there, she was there at Western Girls. And of course, when she finished, she did so well, getting 6. So I discussed with her actually what she wants to do after the secondary school, and she says she told me that, well, the teachers are saying that she should apply for medicine. So I bought the forms for the entrance examination for medicine at University of Ghana Medical School. Just a day before the entrance examination, she actually came to me pleading that actually she really wants to do petrochemical engineering at Tech, but she was finding it extremely difficult to tell me really, because she felt I was going to be disappointed. Then I was like, wow, I commended her for that boldness in telling me that truly she didn't want medicine, but she wanted petrochemical engineering. And so truly, I had to, you know, then quickly change it and then help her with the petrochemical. And as I speak to you now, she's there, she's doing petrochemical engineering, and the grades are excellent. It's so beautiful. Okay, so I think that what we need to bear in mind is that imposition actually kills self-efficacy. When we impose something on our children, we are diminishing, we are killing their self-efficacy. Okay, and when self-efficacy is diminished, right, it creates room for all sort of mental health, you know, problems, right? So for instance, there's a discrepancy between a child's ideal self and a child's actual self. So the child is actually living a pale shadow of him or herself. There's an ideal self that he always aspires to, but unfortunately, he's not living that ideal self, he's living an actual self. So there's that discrepancy. And in fact, my work in suicide and self-harm, I mean, it's replete with evidence showing that when there's that discrepancy, okay, between the ideal self and then the actual self, it gives room to anxieties, okay, depression, oppositional, you know, defiant disorder, conduct disorders, self-harm, and in fact, suicidal tendencies. I mean, I have evidence of people who have self-harmed, who have attempted suicide, all in the name of, I mean, something being imposed on them, and they're not having the agency to assert their own, you know, career path. So I think the beauty of it is that, the good part of it is that it allows the children, okay, to unfold naturally, okay, into awareness, where they have their interests, their aspirations, and their values, okay, you know, aligning with those particular careers. So I think that there's a lot to gain. There's a lot to gain when we allow, you know, children to actually come up naturally. Well, what Doc said was that we have to guide. We have to guide. Of course, there are children who can tell you that they want to do certain things that you clearly know that is going to take them to the path of distraction. Some few weeks ago, I was at my hall. Look on here, I'm a hall tutor. And a level 400 student could look straight into me, to my face, and tell me that he wants to be a hacker. And I hope we all know who a hacker, what a hacker does. He wants to hack technology, technology, whatever. I was shocked. And he was trying to justify why you want to do that. And I told the gentleman, hey, please, this will lead or will land you into trouble. So at this point, there's a need for you to again sit down with a child, okay, and reorient the child, okay, let the child know the pros and the cons. It's not about imposing, it's not about also getting so disengaged. It's about communication, interaction, you know, in a more friendly, you know, atmosphere.
Doc, I think your mic is muted. Dr. Arthur, your mic is muted.
Wow. Okay, am I back on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. I think Dr. Andor has painted a few bad and ugly outcomes for us with regards to suicide. Dr. Carol, would you like to add something before I come to Dr. Anderson?
Yeah, I think
paint that picture for parents out there that when they post, these are the ugly and bad outcomes that they can expect. Because it's
yeah, I mean, I think Dr. Andartha has spoken about the really dark side, and I think maybe it's the word, because especially when we're thinking about the good, it's really hard to pinpoint good when you're talking about imposing on someone, right?
Yes.
But I like that when you were sharing your example with your niece, you talked about how her mother encouraged her, right, as opposed to imposed, right? Because those can look and feel very different. And her mother encouraged her based on things that she had observed about her. So it probably made it easier for her to listen, because it was obvious that, oh, mom has noticed this and this about me. And based on that, she's guiding and encouraging me. So I think the stance here, like we've all been saying, is taking a position of guidance, of encouragement, of sort of making sure that your child is part of the process. So that, like Dr. Andartha said, that sense of self-efficacy isn't killed. Because I think the other bad side that you also see is, you work with a lot of young adults who really struggle with decision making, right? Their sense of, self-trust, their sense of confidence in terms of knowing that they can make good decisions for themselves are really sort of non-existent, because, well, maybe they've come up just, oh, mom and dad decided what course I was going to do. Yeah, when I got to university, and you'd have parents who tell, they fill out the forms for their children. They go online and choose. Oh, I wasn't even there. Mom and dad just chose the courses for me, right? So it also impacts that sense of, decision making, especially when it comes to being able to decide certain things for themselves, having that confidence and knowledge and trust that, no, I actually know how to, look at different factors and make a decision. I think that's also one way in which it doesn't help the children. And I think generally we've talked about how for most parents, this idea of, I just want a lot of parents tell you, I just want my child to be happy. And I just want my child to do well. I'm coming from a good place. And so this is why I'm pushing them in this direction. But to also encourage parents to think about the fact that if a child ends up in a career where they are not satisfied, they are not motivated, they don't feel as though it's the right career path for them, they are unhappy. So that happiness that you were seeking by trying to guide them in a particular direction, a lot of them then end up not having not
fulfilled, not life fulfilled.
Exactly. So they may be doing well, they may be doing well in terms of, in terms of maybe career progression. They are doing, you meet people who are doing very well. They're progressing, they're making money, financially is good, but then you sit and you talk to them and there's a lot of dissatisfaction, right? There's a lot of unhappiness, which also then leads to other things. But I do think that we see the good side of it when parents take a position of encouraging, of guidance, of making the children a part of the process, or sort of finding that middle ground, like we talked about earlier. That's where you kind of see more of the positive outcomes of parental involvement.
Good. Dr. Inusa, would you like to sum it up?
Yes. With the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's
I think with the good aspect of imposing a career on your child is it try to maintain or to sustain the economic status of the family. It's like a particular family has a particular economic standing. So, and it go with a particular job that they think the child should do. So once they do that, they are sure that indeed that particular economic status will be maintained in the family. That's one good aspect of it. And again, it tried to maintain a family's legacy. Maybe the family is of all medical doctors. So every offspring tried to come on board with the field of medicine. So that legacy of a family with medical doctors will be maintained. And again, it also helped that particular family to get some social respect from the community or the society they live in. And we so like it socially when you are accorded the respect that, yeah, indeed, this particular family has this, your social status is increased. Lastly, it allows us to show indeed we actually like what we are doing as a family. But the bad ones are these. It makes the child become frustrated in life. It can also also bring about hostility between the family and the child. The child can be delinquent, engaging in activities that are not called for in the society when we self-impose career onto them. And again, they can engage in behaviors that are not called for, eating disorders as one of them. Actually, this particular bad aspect too can let children try to do self-talk to themselves, be thinking about negative things. After all, it's not what I want. So let me be doing it this way, but that is what gives me solace. That is what gives me happiness. The ugly aspect is it hampers the progress or the potential of the child totally. Once a career is imposed onto them, their potentials are killed. And again, once careers are imposed onto them, the child becomes pressured to live up to expectations that others have cut for him or her without his personal convictions. So these are the three angles. It's like a coin with two sides. It has a positive, had a bad, and as well has a complementary, being the ugly, where the child future can be killed totally because he or she has been given something that he never thought about. He never even dreamed about. He never planned for that, yet he's going to do it. That is my take. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me read a few comments here. From Albert to everyone. There are certified hackers, so doc, it's a profession. I think Dr. Atta, he was taking you on there. Well, it's interesting to say that you also need education.
Sure. I've learned something new.
you need to explore with our children. So probably you need to explore with your student and find out what is going on. Omla GA says, we have ethical hackers who do work for the security services. The level 4 NSD can consider that. Efiba Amfo says, this is an excellent conversation, but we got notification late, hence 1 hour late. Can we do this again? Efiba, I'm wondering how you got your notification because I shared our flyer, I think on Tuesday. And this morning too, I shared it as early as I gave it to you a bit later. I'm sorry about that. But if we are to have this program, always we start at 12. We give about, we open the gates. We open the gates 15 minutes to time so that you can freely join. And so yes, it's being recorded. From Monday onwards, you can have it on YouTube. When you go to our website, you'll find it there and all other. We think we've had about, this is the 15th session that we've had a lot of topics. Albert is back saying that certified ethical hacking. Ethical hackers use their knowledge to secure and improve the technology of organizations. They provide essential service to this organization by looking for vulnerabilities that can lead to a security breach. Wow. Okay, Albert, thank you for that. An ethical hacker reports that identify vulnerabilities to the organization. Sabina Freeman, no sound at my end, please. Good afternoon. I'm sure you're also experiencing some things that I have been struggling with today. Sorry about that. Most at what we critically need here. What parents need to do. Okay, Sabina, lucky you. Thank God, it's working now. Good. Now, I want each of you to tell me, I am a parent. I did some impositions here and there. Now, I'm confronted with all this information that you've provided with me today. What advice would you give me? What are the next steps that you would give me to undo if that word is appropriate, the harmful effects I might have committed? So let me start with you, Dr. Ando.
Yeah, so I think that again, I will take it from Dr. Carol, what she said. Yes, everything that is learned can be unlearned. I mean, as we know. Yeah, so we can go back, okay, to remedy the situation, and all that it takes is we having empathy. In fact, we need to empathize with our children. And I think increasingly what we are seeing from our research is that there appears to be an increasing disengagement, okay, of parents from their children. Okay, and so I get to a point where children do not even want to open up, okay, to advice, encouragement from parents. So I think we need to build that relationship so well. I mean, your parents, you might be the best friend of your child. And so if you have recognized, okay, some excesses, it's important to build bridges, create rapport, you know, try to empathize with a child, you know, to be able to get a child to now unlearn some of these things. I think that Vygotsky calls something zone of proximal development. So every child has a potential, has an actual potential, actual ability, but there's a potential, okay, and that child needs, okay, somebody, okay, like the parent or the teacher, okay, to help him to, you know, I mean, move from that actual to the potential. So as a parent, I think that wherever your child is, whatever stage your child is, there's still something new your child can discover on his own. And for me, it's about just adopting, you know, that attitude of, you know, empathy and helping the child, guiding the child, encouraging the child, and being a friend to the child. I think that is the way to go. Nothing is too late when it comes to development.
Okay, thank you. Gloria, are you watching and listening to us from Qatar? Because I know she's in Qatar now. Interesting, my sister. She wouldn't miss this for anything. Okay, that's nice to know. Okay, so Carol.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
I mean, I take the same stance as Dr. Ado-Arthur that it's never too late. I had an experience with a parent and a child who the parents came around to recognizing right around when the child was almost done with their first degree, right? And they had really pushed them to do law. So they were set on the path to do law. And I think the parents over time noticed, that there was a massive change, and this was a child that they were really close to. But I think because of the imposition and just refusing to sort of listen to the child in terms of what they wanted to do, there had been a decline in relationship. So the parents eventually noticed and came around and was, very concerned about, my daughter and I aren't as close, and in conversation found out that the daughter was quite resentful about being forced to do law. So I think that the parents had a change of heart and, came to the conclusion that, listen, at the end of the day, my relationship with my child is way more important to me. And so I want to fix this. And I think that's what I will add in terms of, once you get to the point where you feel as a parent, you recognize, I may have imposed this on my child, and I recognize that, in terms of their well-being, in terms of the health of our relationship, I think you should prioritize fixing that relationship, right? Because ultimately that is important. So, I mean, this parent with the help of, support, conversation with daughter, was able to get back on track with the relationship they had before and rebuilding that relationship. And in terms of the career, it's interesting that the daughter was always interested in creative writing, right? And parents wanted her to do law. But, coming together, parents having a change of heart, she still did the law. She then took some courses in creative writing as well. And she's been able to marry the two quite well in terms of career, because, quite a bit of what she does in law requires some writing. She's looking into doing, some fiction writing, from a law perspective, telling those kinds of stories. So that is a success story in terms of being able to marry the two. But I'm also a big believer it's never too late. But when you do come around to it, I think one of the things you shouldn't neglect is, what damage has it done to my relationship with my child, and how do I address that as well?
Thank you. So picking up on that, Gloria Batman says, building relationships with your child is very important. The only way to discover your child well. I think that is quite true. Lady Royal, to everyone, says, I had my experience after JSH. Lady Royal, I'm just going to open up, and I would love to hear your experience. For a few questions and comments, I would love to hear yours. Abraham Addison has a long one, which I cannot read, Abraham. But let's see. He asked the question. Okay, let me try and read. Thank you very much for this opportunity, very useful discussion. In this part of the world where career options are limited due to the fact that most career options are not lucrative and also looked on. Example, most parents will not encourage their wards to pursue music as a major profession, even though the child might be talented in the area, because it might not be able to pay enough to sustain a good lifestyle. Due to limited options, parents try to get their wards into areas that they are sure their wards will get a good job. How do we address this? Thank you, Abraham, for that comment and your question. We'll say, probably we have talked about it and we have responded to that during the conversation. Aisha says, very right, it is never too late. In my case, I built on the initial career and moved on to develop myself for an area of interest. Jonathan, finally, after muting himself, says, very insightful and informative discussion. Dennis also says, surely no time is too late for positive change. Humility is required to also apologize to children who have been abused in this way. That is very true. That is very true, Dennis. Okay, so finally, on this advice, Dr. Inusa, it's your turn. Then I'll open and ask our participants to make comments and ask questions.
All right. Thanks very much for giving me the opportunity to offer my view. I'm building on where Dr. Andata ended, that we should build a relationship with our children. Yes. When we are able to accept the fact that we have made grave mistakes in the lives of our children in terms of their career path, and apologize to them ideally, we can start a good relationship from that angle. And when a good relationship is being established, we can now dialogue with them what they want to do. Remember, children are curious by nature. And once they are trying to explore their environment in job search or potential future occupation or career, we accepting the fact that we have made a mistake, we then need to guide them in that process so that they will do a healthy search or explore in a healthy way. And again, we can try to also not try to stampede on the way and manner they express themselves. We should give them the opportunity to talk their ideas out to us. If there's time, then we go on board with them to search for the opportunities available in those areas that they have harbored. And out of that, we can have the best way for our case than trying to give them things that they never planned for. That is my take. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, if you have any question or any comment, apart from hand, and I will invite us to go on. Let's go on. Now, globalization have made, okay, Alberta,
yes,
unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the...
Good afternoon, Alberta. Go ahead.
I'm a health teacher in one of our nursing training schools. And
Can you raise up your voice a bit, Alberta? I can hardly hear you.
Hello, please, is it better now?
It's better now. Go ahead.
Please, I said I'm a health tutor in one of our nursing training schools.
Okay, a health tutor.
Yes, please. And then there is this student who seems not to be performing. But then when you interact with her, you can see that the student is not as bad as you can see in her performance in exams. So I called her and had a discussion with her. That was when she told me that she doesn't have passion for nursing, but what she intends to do is fashion. But her parents, especially the mother, insisted that she should come to nursing training. So I asked her if she will allow me to meet the parents, and then she said yes. So I met the mother, and what she told me first, her first reason for her allowing her daughter to come to nursing was that in her vicinity, where they speak, everybody is doing nursing, and that the daughter should also do nursing. So with this, I want to ask, can the society influence the reason why parents impose a career on their wards?
Thank you very much. This one falls right in the alley of Dr. Andata.
Yes, Doc. Yeah, so I think the last question, can the society
influence the career choices
of
the influence the parent to impose?
Exactly. I think that we have reiterated that. I mean, society has its own notions of what a good career is, what a bad career is. It may be wrong. It may be wrong, right? So depending on the context one finds himself, one can be limited to certain career, ends. So for me, I think that it is about, enriching the context. It's about maybe challenging certain assumptions. For instance, I mean, why in this day and age, why would a parent tell me that fashion doesn't fetch money? How can the parent convince me that fashion is a bad profession, or it's a profession that doesn't really pay? So maybe we need to take something out from this discussion. Now, career, there are two main things. There is the tangible outcome of career, which is what? The money, income. Of course, income, we need it to be able to satisfy our basic needs. But there is that intangible, the psychological outcome, sense of purpose, sense of meaning. In fact, the mere fact that every day you go out of your house and come back in the evening is giving you some time, some structure to your life. It gives you some sense of coherence. Okay, so we need to look at career in this way, such that we don't only focus on the money. So I think that for this person's case, she wants to do fashion. I don't know which level she is at the nursing, okay? But she still can be helped to come back to the fashion. She still can be helped. Otherwise.
So what key advice would you give to this health tutor as the next step to take?
Exactly. So for me, I will encourage that there should be that continuous engagement between the student and the parent. The parent will need to reorient himself or herself about issues of career. And then the student would also have to be helped to know that it is still a possibility that wherever she is now, she still can pursue whatever she wants to do. But all of us may have had one experience or the other. And in the end, it turned out so good for us. Why? Sometimes you may be put in a certain career, though by imposition. Okay. But you can still be determined and then learn something in that career, whilst at the same time to creating time to pursue your own. Okay, so we need that constant engagement between the student, the parents, and I think that the health tutor has a role to play in that. There's a lot we can still do. It's not too late. It's not too late. But let us go beyond society. Let us rearrange society. We need to change a whole lot of perceptions about career in our society and allow people to just, unfold what is in them as far as career choices are concerned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. One other comment that just came in from Rights and Quality to Everyone. I have also seen some people who were coerced or influenced to go into certain professions as children. That is true. We've talked about that. Ishmael, you have the chance to make your submission. Georgina, can you please mute yourself?
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for this topic.
Ishmael, please raise your voice so that we can hear you clearly.
Hello, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, it's better now. Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the topic, and thank you for all the submission. I just have one question and then one suggestion, or more or less one comment. First and foremost, over the question. The question is there any research which pretty much suggests that genetically people can be predisposed to a particular career path? That is just a question, obviously, for the persons who are obviously given the responses. Now, the other thing I've noticed, obviously, in my area of work in consultancy, I've noticed often than not in Ghana that you find persons who do not challenge authority or challenge certain things because you are predisposed to certain culture where literally, you have that children are not taught about their rights and their liberties and their freedom. And I think Dr. Carol made a suggestion about decision making. And this transcends into the work area. And often or not in the public sector, you find that people just follow what they're supposed to do and they don't challenge authority or question some issues. And I believe that it is coming from the basis of people are being imposed on to do certain things, and they carry it along through their work career. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your pen and comment. With regards to your comments, Dr. Inusa, you have any idea about research that says that people's genetic makeup are predisposed to their careers? I would ask all of you anyway. If any of you have seen that research, I have not. Have you?
I have no chance on any empirical based information ascertaining to what our brother just said. But then there are other records that are showing that if you possess a particular pattern of behavior, you are suitable for a particular job. Bringing the ocean into perspective, the extroverted person has a particular job that he may function very well. So as the conscientious person, so as the open person, and so as the neurotic person. So if someone evidence-based actions are able to speak to the way and manner he does things, and they are in line with a particular occupation that we have already outlined, I think it go in line with that.
Can you imagine an introvert being a salesperson?
Under extreme situations, it's possible. Under
extreme situation, it's possible. Depending on what they are selling. Anyway.
Doc, let's say sales personnel can be an art. It could be that the introverted person does not necessarily mean that he or she cannot engage a customer when the person comes to. Remember, in career, there are some things that may not be evident in us as persona or as individuals, but we can exhibit them. It's just an art of talking. So the person might have learned an art of talking and use that as basis to become a salesperson for a particular job or company that he or she works for. But that might not be the talent aspect of he or she. Remember, introverted people may have several features, and the most dominant one is what we are using as basis. And you can leave all these personality features, but the dominant one is what we talk about. He can be introverted, but then he can even vocalize when it comes to interacting with people regarding business issues. It's possible.
It's possible.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, that's correct. Okay, that's right. Thank you very much. Carol, this is for you. Let me see what you think about this one. From rights and quality to everyone. So let me read the whole thing. I have also seen some people who were coerced or influenced to go into certain professions as children. They left the profession to pursue their dreams, but later in life, they reverted to their parents' chosen career. What do the facilitators say about this? Is it that their parents knew them better than themselves?
I mean, I think that's a great point, and I think it speaks to our earlier point about relationship with children and why that is such an important piece, and also the specific role of guidance. I mean, the fact of the matter is, as children grow in terms of identity development, getting to know themselves, exploring themselves, sometimes parents have certain perspectives and see certain things about their children that children do not always see, or sometimes come to know a little later on. Or sometimes also because of life experience and certain things, parents have a better understanding of what certain things mean. Maybe they notice certain things about a child, what they enjoy, the way they tend to do things. And because they are older and they have certain experiences, they understand what that means in terms of career. Whereas a child may not get it immediately, right? Because they haven't had a certain level of exposure, a certain level of, life experience. And so, yes, absolutely. Sometimes it's not that parents know them better than themselves. It's that maybe children come to know themselves later on in life in a way that maybe parents already knew, if that makes sense, right? So in a case like this, it's possible that parents encouraged you to do something because of something they had come to see that you hadn't seen yet. And then as you moved along in your development, your identity development, exploring yourself, self-knowledge, you also came into that knowledge. But I think all that this says is the importance of then working together, right? Because that is why that is critical, because I am bringing something to the table in terms of my interest, what I think I know about myself, what I want to do. Parents can also bring, the knowledge they have from their perspective, and that becomes important in terms of us working together to find what might be the best fit for the child.
Thank you.
Let me add a little to that.
Okay.
I think
Dr. Anissa, go ahead.
Yeah, career issues are more or less issues of self-concept. And as self-concept, as we know, it's not static. As the person progresses in life, it changes. So you may harbor a particular interest as you grow. Then you find a way that, no, this wasn't the best fit of mine, so let me change. It's an issue of self-concept. So it is possible that the person might have gone against what the parents have said and later reneged to what the parents said earlier. There's no mistake with that. It's about knowing who you are, what you are, and what you are capable of doing. And at the end of the day, it's the better of the child that we are looking for, nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you too. I think Lady Pastor Bennis is directing me to go and do some reading. She's saying more of the temperaments and suitable careers by Tim LaHaye in his book, Why Do You Act the Way You Do? Okay, I'll look out for it. Efiba, let's hear you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for this conversation. Actually, I wanted to retreat that some of us feel guilty for this particular offense, not as parents, but as older siblings. So I am a girl, the eldest of 5 girls. And for some reason, I had to help my mother to take care of the rest of the people. And I insisted that some of them follow a particular career pattern so they don't come worry me for finances when I later settle down in marriage. So I'm beginning to feel very, very guilty, especially for our last born, because this is a young lady who I thought was not able to deduce her own interests, and so I did that job for her. I felt more that she was not, like the professor said, her choices of profession were more wishful thinking, dream world, youthful things. You see those typical youthful things. Yeah. She wanted to do photojournalism. Another moment she wants to do Chinese and interpret to Chinese people. And I thought all those were a joke, and they were going to put my money at risk. So I pushed her into nursing. And we are all facing the consequences, because she later graduated from school, and the fair sight of blood when she was posted, she so many stories. So I am actually looking for a way out, but I still think that this one will give her a steady flow of income. And I wonder how photojournalism, which continues to be her dream profession, will put food on the table. So I hear the prof about the conversation or the balance between the tangible and intangible merits of a career. But in our part of the world, let's face it, you cannot even think of the intangible when the tangible is not available. So I need some guidance. Because I'm actually, I failed the law school entrance exam, and I desperately wanted to be. So I want my girl to do that job for me. I don't want to repeat what I did to my younger sister, to my daughter. So some advice would be very helpful about this tangible and intangible, balancing it with the economic problems that we have in our part of the world. Thank you.
My old man will say, over to you, Yao. Over to you, Dr. Ando.
My dear sister, thank you so much for sharing this this very personal experience. I think that my answer will be short. I think it's about time we also understood the role of career and guidance counselors, right? Career guidance counselors. Exactly. It's about time. I think that as a nation, we don't prioritize, the work of these people. Some of us might not even know that they are so closer to us and they can help us. Just as we go to the medical doctor when we have a physiological problem, I think that these are professionals who have been well trained, okay, to understand the issues and put it in the right perspective. So my dear sister, I think that I would want to recommend that maybe you engage one such professional, okay, in knowing the way forward. But again, on the issue of balancing the tangibles and the intangibles, yes, we need money. Yes, you need a child who has to be independent. Yes, you need somebody who has to be there for you when you are old and can take care of you. But at the end, should it be at the cost of the person's happiness? So the intangibles also matters. The issue of the fulfillment, the satisfaction, okay, the joy in doing something, it also matters. That's why I'm saying that you may need a professional like that to guide you, okay, in how close or how distant you can be, as far as this career choice for your child is concerned. We may not know it all, and that's why we need to call on professionals like that.
Thank you very much, Dr.
As a recommendation, the Department of Counselors, as a recommendation to our dear sister who was looking for an opportunity for such mistake that she did in court to be alleviated going forward with her own kid and the younger sister, I recommend University of Education Counseling Psychology Department. We have career counselors there who are renowned and understand the terrain. So if she happens to get the opportunity, maybe after this, she should just link up. I'll give her the contacts. Then she call. This is the best way we can help ourselves. This is the best way we can help. It's so disheartening, but then we can find a way forward in terms of this. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Dr. Atta.
Thank you very much. Yes.
On a lighter note, once Dr. Mahama has done a free advert, let me also say that Psychology Department, University of Ghana, is abound with professionals. So please call on us, right?
Well, to add to that, so that I'll be able to connect those who want to seek for help, I have just dropped my phone line into the chat box. That is my I'll make contact for you. Mrs. Christina Amma has also provided us with some useful resource. She's saying that my counseling students on practicum normally use the Holland codes, RISAC, to help clients or students match their personality with the kind of careers they want to pursue. Please check it here. So those interested, look into the chat box. There's a link there. You can pick it up and do some reading. She's provided also another link for a test. I've provided my phone number. User to everyone. Yes, the profession has been downsized in Ghana. Aisha says, thank you. I think Lady Royal shares had some experience. Let's hear her, and I think we'll hear final comments from our facilitators and we'll wrap it up. Lady Royal, can we hear you? Lady Royal, please let's hear you.
Yes.
Lady Royal, unmute yourself and let's hear you. Other than that, we are going on. Okay, I think she's missed a chance. So let's pick our final comments. I'll take our home messages. Let me start with you, Dr. Nusa.
All right. It has been a fruitful discussion anyway, but I think the issue of career path for children is very, very critical. Especially it becomes demotivating to the child when it's being dictated to by the parents. So as parents as we are, or potential parents in future, we should always think about the aptitude of the child, the interest of the child, the availability of the career he has chosen in the system that we operate. Guide the child to do or to take decisions that are well informed and supported by information that is available and can be tested. Let them hover around to also find a scope of the particular career that they think they aspire to have in life. And lastly, we should also think about the juicy aspect of the careers, the salary of it. That is my take. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Atta.
All right. So again, let me also take the opportunity to thank you, Doc, for the opportunity. I think it has been an insightful discussion. Let me say that children are gifts from the Lord. And so as parents, it is a privilege that we have been given, by the Lord to actually parent children. We have a role to play in shaping their future, their development, especially with the issue of career, choices. What I would say is that we must see parents not as an event, but as a process. And parents being a process, we must continually, have this continuous education, more or less. We must continue to improve, our parental style. We must continue to learn and know which areas we may fall short, which areas we may improve, so that we can also enrich the child's growth process. So I think that, yes, there's a role we have to play. But as we learn more, as we have such opportunities, we get to know what we can do, what we cannot do in shaping their children and their developmental path so successfully. Thank you so much.
Please, can I talk?
Okay.
Please, can I talk?
Lady Raya, you missed the opportunity.
There was a bit of noise. There was a bit of noise.
There is still noise in your background. It's not clear at all.
Is it okay now?
Okay, it's okay. Let's hear you.
Okay, so I'm very happy for this program, and I'll tag some few people to watch on Facebook as well. I had my experience after JHS. That was a mistake. We were about 3 girls, and the other 2 made their soul rest in peace because of this issue. One wanted to learn hairdressing, hair making, but the parents were like, all those people that do that, they flex a lot. So go and learn how to make dress. And she didn't want it. After a year, there was nothing she could do with the machine. And the insult and everything became too much. She left home. She was living all this kind of life with friends. And the last time I heard, she's dead. The other one as well, she wanted to sell. She told the mother, I want to sell. I can do business. They said, no, go to school. She said, no. They put her in school. She couldn't do well. The insult and all that. She also ended up with friends, and she's also no more. I'm the only one that survived it because I was also put to learn how to sew. I had the passion to be a medical doctor. But after the death of my dad, there was no money. And my mom was like, okay, then you have to learn a handwork. And I was like, no, this is not what I want. And in fact, it wasn't a good sense between me and my mother. So now, I think we just start getting along after so many, about 20 years. Because it was really, after paying everything, I didn't want it. And so one day, a friend invited me to do these promotional sales, take the product, sell in the market. And the white man was like, from Bonvi 2012, like, you are good. I was like, how? I didn't even have the passion for sales. I was doing it because I needed the money back. He sat me down, spoke with me, talked to me, gave me some few guidelines. I became the regional salesperson, a territory developer. I happened to work with a lot of companies. I worked for a lot of companies, like on contract. I was making good money. I didn't believe myself. I didn't even know I had that in me. Now, my mother used to call me a whole lot of names. Oh, you are useless, you are hopeless. I wish I had aborted you and all that. And, it got to me. But this white man actually raised me, and he said, see, if you can't be a medical doctor is working with people. You can still work with people in a different direction. And that was how he brought me into the sales edge. My last company was Unilever. I did something great. I developed a territory. Like, they believe in me. They were just pushing me from one place to the other with good salary. And I was so happy till now. And I think if I hadn't met them, I would have done like my other friends. Because the depression and everything was so much. If your family could reject you, what else is left? So I think this is very educative, and I'm so happy for this. So parents here, please, sometimes it's good to listen to your children and have relationship. Well, I have a relationship with my father, not my mother. My father would have listened to me if she was alive, but my mom, no. She wants you to do what she wants you to do. And I think that is where the problem is. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lady Roya. I think that you have re-echoed all that our facilitators have said in your experience, and position does not really help. Building relationship with our children does. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. At least you've confirmed in real experience what we are talking here. Ben Nati says that my daughter in her heart wants to be an artist, fine art, but also wants to be like her father, who is a system analyst for a global organization. Advice. Ben Nati, I would advise you that have a conversation with Carol. I've left my number in there. Make contact later. I'll connect you to Carol, and she would help you with the kind of advice that you need to move on with your daughter. Dennis says, as regards the cultural dimension to this career choice, religion, I think, also plays some role. People, for example, believe that God has a plan for their lives, and they rely solely on prayer for direction. This is a religious dimension, but it's not an area for me today. So I beg you, Dennis, we all believe so much in God's goodness. A few comments have come in. Thank you so much. Let's take our final comments from Carol. Carol, your final thoughts on our conversation so far.
Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful conversation. I think just re-emphasizing what both my colleague panelists have said, but also just going back to where we started the conversation in terms of, investing in just getting to know your children, because I think that's where a lot of the misalignment often starts from. Make sure you get to know your children, like you've all said. Parenting or fatherhood or motherhood isn't just the provision of their material needs, but also just being present, getting to know them, exploring with them as they get to know themselves. And just to slightly also expand on just our responsibility as a society. I think we've been talking a lot about exposure and, education around, especially the more non-traditional career fields. I think it falls on us as adults and as parents to do our research. If you're playing the role of guiding someone in a particular venture, your responsibility is to get as much information as you can on it. So joining in on conversations like this, also maybe making it a feature of some of the larger communities that we are a part of, churches, workplaces, just bringing these information and these kind of conversations to parents, just so we are continuously just expanding our knowledge about these things. I think that's what I'll say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There's been a wonderful discussion so far. For me, if I have to sum it all up, know your children, have a relationship with them, do the exploration with them, know the kind of skills and knowledge that they have, know them academically, emotionally, psychologically, and socially. Guide them, encourage them, find that middle path that you will not be imposing and you will not be directing, but guide them to make that choice. For me, that is what I am taking. And I don't think I'm far from what all of you have said. And so I really, really want to thank you so much for taking time, Dr. Ando, Arthur, Dr. Carol, Matthias Oshes, Dr. Inusa Mahama. I couldn't thank you enough so much for taking time off your busy schedules to join us in this conversation. And in fact, you've been wonderful. Your submissions have been top notch. And I mean, from the comments that we are getting in the chat box, I mean, I attest to that. So I really, really want to thank you for that. And to you, our participants, I think over 100 of you, I mean, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for also taking time off your busy schedules and joining us. I mean, we are all having this conversation to be resourceful in order to help our children, not to make that mistakes that others have done, to let them thrive as children. So you too as participants, thank you too. So on behalf of MHA, I want to thank all of you. This is not the last one. We are going to have another one. Looking at my calendar, I'm pretty sure that should be on the 16th of December. We should have another one, the final one for the year. Aisha is just asking me, Aisha, so I just said it even before reading it. The recording will be on the MHA website. If you cannot find it on the MHA website, just go to YouTube, type in MHA Webinar. We've done about, this is the 15th or 16th of them. So just type in MHA Webinar 1. They all fall in line, and we've done some wonderful topics, and you can use them. You can use them. So thank you so much all for coming. God bless us all. Next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if we're in good health, we have life. We'll meet same time and same place with another wonderful discussion. Thank you. The program has ended.
Thank you too.
I think a round of applause for our facilitators. Everybody open your
Thank you.
Let's clap for them.
Educated.
Open yourself and let's clap for them.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Great. Very educating.